farmers. Bum da bum 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 bum. We are farmers. Bum da bum 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 bum. We are farmers. Bum da bum 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 bum. We are farmers. Bum da bum 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 bum.
Woohoo! How we do, ladies and gentlemen? This guide is intended for beginners. If you already farm in BDO, you probably won't learn too much. Maybe you'll learn to fertilize your crops and water them, but that's about it. Alright, I'll stop. There's a lot to cover, so it might be overwhelming, and I apologize if it's a little, all over the place. So why is farming so good in the current meta? It has to do with the recent Imperial crafting buff we got a couple of months ago. Cooking and farming just complement each other. Some would say they go together like peas and carrots. Before I literally hold your hand in how to farm, we're going to go over some things. First, you need contribution points to buy fences. So if you have 20 to 30 free contribution points, you can move on with the guide. If you don't, pause the guide and free up some contribution points. Second, I suggest you buy strong fences as they have 10 grids. Now some seeds take up 1 grid, while other seeds such as hot pepper take up 2. Each strong fence will cost you 10 contribution points. Third, you will need to get some seeds. You can purchase them from the market or from a seed vendor. Here is a location. And fourth, as a beginning farmer, I suggest you only invest in 2 to 3 farms to see if you actually like it and to not be overwhelmed. Alright, let's do this. Once you have your fence and some seeds, you want to make your way over to Velia. Just right outside of Velia is where you will be setting up your farms. Now this is a very popular place, and we aren't trying to get all sweaty and tinfoily. First, locate the fence in your inventory and click on it. It will essentially take you into a third-person view. Now let's find a convenient place to set it, and then set the next 2 right next to each other. You want to put your farms close to each other. We will get to that reason later in the guide. Second, while you are standing in the middle of the fence, you will be able to interact with it. It will take you to an installation window. Simply grab one of the seeds in your inventory and set it in one of the grids, and simply repeat the process until all the grids are full. Third, this is very important. You need to interact with one of the seeds you planted. A window will pop up and tell you a bunch of information. The 2 most important things you need to look for is water level and fertilizer. Let's start with water. It says, when a crop's moisture level reaches 0, the crop will rot and its yield will decrease significantly. And when it comes to fertilizer, fertilizer will speed up the growth of crops. You essentially want to make sure that you have an adequate amount of water and fertilizer. Now let me show you how to get some water that you can pour onto your crops. There is a material vendor in Heidel that will sell you empty bottles. Simply go to the river in Heidel. While you are standing in the river, click on the empty bottles and you will start collecting the water. I suggest you go AFK for like 5 minutes, then come back, because if you collect a hard or a sharp, your character will stop gathering water. Now let's head back to the farms. Now you will be able to pour the bottle of river water onto your farms, increasing the water level. Now let's get to the fertilizer. Here is a picture to show you how to make fertilizer. It's easy and straightforward. You can do that process or just buy it from the market. I suggest you use organic fertilizer as it recovers the fertilizer bar the most. You will notice that once you have used fertilizer, it will reduce the amount of time the crop needs to grow. And we ain't done yet. We need to cover pruning. Essentially, your crops will be infested with bugs, which will reduce the crop's growth rate, which means you want them to be pruned so they grow normally. Now you need to ask yourself, do you want to prune your farms yourself or use a worker to do it for you? Now, if you choose to prune your farms yourself, I suggest you use a farming alt that has decent inventory, because you will be holding a lot of seeds. So maybe do the main quest line to get additional inventory. If you prune your farms yourself, you're going to be changing characters frequently. But if you want to level up your farming, you will have to prune the farms yourself. There are some perks of leveling up your farming. such as at Artisan 2, you will be able to get magical seeds. This is a beginner's guide. I won't be getting into any of that. That's for a different guide though. And when you hit Master Farming, you will be able to use Old Moon fences. They are much smaller and more compact. Now, earlier in the guide, I told you to keep your farms close together. Here's why. Because when you use fertilizer and bottled river water, if you use those items correctly, you will be able to cover multiple farms at once. Pruning your farms will become very tedious, which is why I suggest you just put a worker on it and let them prune it for you. It's up to you, but I would suggest using a worker. If you choose to use a worker, you want to go with a worker that's located in like Calpheon or Medaya, because if you use workers located in Velia, they will finish their work cycles fast. I have seen some people use Kama workers, so when is it time to harvest your crops? I personally like to harvest my crops as soon as possible. As soon as possible means once they hit 100%, I try to gather them and try to get at least 2 or 3 harvests per day. The vast majority of people are probably farming for imperial cooking. Now you need to determine what tier/grade of seeds you should be farming. For example, we will be using onions. If the mill requires 1 to 2 onions, go with the white grade seeds that you can buy at a seed vendor. If it requires 2 to 3 onions, go with the green/high quality onions. If it requires 4 to 5 onions, go with the blue/special onions. What onions you use will most likely be determined by how much weight you have, so keep that in mind. Let's cover how to get higher grade seeds. When your crop reaches 100%, you will be able to harvest them. Now you can either breed them, which means you're going to get seeds, or you can just harvest them and get the goods. So if you want higher grade seeds, this is how you're going to do it. When you grow a white tier seed, you will have the option to breed them and have a chance to get a higher quality grade seed. You can then take that high grade seed and have a chance to get a special seed by repeating that same process. Or you can just buy it from the marketplace, but good luck. I think that covers it like right there. Peace.